Bring him on. There he is.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to try and make my question simple, or quick and simple.
Okay.
Kent, I'm sure you're familiar with the term straw man argument and what it means.
Yes, sir.
What I want to know is, have you ever heard of steel manning someone's argument? So it's basically like the opposite. It's you give the strongest version of an opposing argument. So an example of me straw manning you would to say you argue for the pre-trib rapture. I could have these backwards, but the pre-trib rapture, and to steel man your position would to say you argue for post-trib. So can you steel man the evolutionist position?
Hmm. This gets more into a class on logic or philosophy of the different types of arguments and all this kind of stuff. So I'd have to do some refresher on that. It's been many, many years. Uh, can I steal? Well, you have to define the word evolution, which I've done many times, AJ, as you know. What exactly do you mean by evolution? Do you mean cosmic evolution, the origin of time, space, matter? That is essential for the theory. You have to have something to evolve. And I know you guys want to avoid that like the plague, but then most of the time with debates or conversations with those who believe, capital B, believe in evolution, they want to start in with living things already being here. They want to skip over the first four parts of the obvious necessary components of evolution. Where did life come from? Where did the planet come from we're standing on? Where did the energy come from? So as far as defining to steel man or straw man the evolution argument, either one, you guys claim that the variations we see happening today, which every farmer would agree with, you get variations, you would claim that they're basically unlimited and that things we cannot possibly see happening today did happen in the past, which gets outside the realm of science. These charts will show, all the creatures in the world coming from a common ancestor, a single protozoa or single-celled creature. This is not science. It would probably be scientific to say there's 400 kinds of cows and they might have a family tree. There probably could be constructed a family tree of cows. I think you could construct a family tree of dogs and go to a common ancestor. That does not, and a family tree of the 70 different kinds of sunflowers. Okay, that does not mean sunflowers and dogs should be connected way back here. This is where you guys go absolutely off the charts, insane, to say we see lots 400 kinds of cows, therefore cows are related to mosquitoes. This is where you totally leave science. So rather than do the philosophy thing on me, AJ, as far as what exactly are you steel manning, or you tell me, why do you believe? First of all, I'll answer for you if you like. Do you believe cows and sunflowers are related over millions of years ago? And your answer, I think, be yes. Why? Why do you believe that? It's burden of proof's on you to prove this stuff because we never observe it. So go ahead. I'm sorry, it took too much time.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that complicated of a philosophy to just say, I mean, you've done 300 plus debates, Ken. I feel like you should be able to just say, just by remembering what the debates and what you heard the other person say, like you should be able to present, not because it's not the evolutionist side that has the 5 steps. That's how you define it. So I'm just wondering, like, why you can't seem to just give the steelman position of what evolutionists argue. I mean, you've heard your opposing side in these debates.
Oh, okay. Well, I know full well they do not like my chart. Put it back up, Nick, with the six types of evolution. They hate this because it exposes the flaw in their argument. All we've ever observed is number 6, variations within the kind. There's no good definition of species, and you're going to want to argue about what's a kind, okay? The animals know what kind they are. There are 8, we'll call it variety. There are 8 varieties of squirrels, and they might have had a common ancestor called a squirrel. I would not argue with that. That's why I've always said number 6 is science, and it should not be called evolution. But you guys decide to call it microevolution. Okay?
Why do you say they might have had a common ancestor? You always say that they probably had a common ancestor. Like, do you?
I wasn't there
Why
to
don't you
see
know
it.
for sure?
I did. I'm not
But you don't
6,000
have to be
years.
there.
Hey, I'm
You
old,
weren't
but
there
I'm
during
not.
the flood. You weren't there during the flood either, Kent. But you talked about the
No.
flood pretty confidently.
Yeah. Well, you talk about all kinds of things pretty confidently that you weren't there for, AJ.
Right,
Okay.
because I think that you can talk about the past and learn things about the past even if we weren't there. Like that's
Oh,
how the
I
field of
agree.
forensics works.
I'm a history buff. I love history. But see,
Right, but you weren't there, and you
Right.
weren't there at the time of the flood or the creation, but you talk about that that the layers all formed horizontally and that Grand Canyon formed in a week. All these things like the layers are the same age. So you're
Mhm.
making all these claims, but you weren't there during the flood.
Well, you're missing the whole point. The point is that back to your question. I'm not straw manning or steel manning the argument. I would like to know
Well, you can't.
exactly what
You
do
can
you mean?
strawman it. You're very good at strawmanning it, I will
Okay.
say. So
What do you mean by the word evolution? Would you agree that your philosophy that all life forms on the planet have a common ancestor? First of all, I won't put words in your mouth. Do you
wait, can I
believe?
answer your question though?
Yeah,
Before you
go ahead.
Okay. Uh, Well, I'll just define it simply as just saying it would be number 5 plus number 6 on your chart. So microevolution plus macroevolution. That's
Okay,
how I
thank you.
would define it.
Okay, so what happened to the first four? Do you not want to talk about the origin of life? Is that not part of your theory?
No, it's not part of the scientific theory of evolution. It's not part of. It's related to. It's obviously related to the field of life on Earth, but it's not part of the scientific theory itself of evolution. No, it's abiogenesis and the origin of life. Those are two separate scientific theories.
You
They're
see, it,
related, but they're just not the same theory. That's all.
but 5 and 6 depend upon number 4 happening. And that
So
depends upon number 3 happening. Where did this planet come from? You have to have a
what?
theory about that. If I said,
Yeah,
well,
and they do. Why does that matter though?
put the slides up. If I said, let's start with the assumption that elephants can fly, I could build a whole storyline based on a herd of flying elephants that flew in, and bombed the city or something. Elephants can't fly, okay? And so,
Yeah, but I'm just saying life, yeah, life already exists on Earth. Earth exists, the universe exists. And then I want to talk about evolution. Why is that a problem?
well, because you're missing the, you're not admitting that what you have is a religious belief on the first 4, actually the first 5. You believe by faith a big bang happened where a dot smaller than an atom created everything in the universe. AJ, you can't squeeze a cup of water into a dot smaller than an atom.
No, I don't believe that, and I don't
Do you
believe
believe
it
the
by
Big
faith.
Bang? You believe
I
the Big
think that
Bang?
the Big Bang theory is correct. I think it's the most logical explanation for cosmology. I don't
Well,
believe
I've
it
gone
by
through.
faith because there's evidence for it. But this
Well,
just
you
seems
say
like
you guys
changing
keep
the
saying
topic.
there's evidence for it. There's evidence for it. No, there isn't.
Yeah,
It's
there is, and
it's physically impossible. It is, and even then, it does. The cosmic evolution theory is saying that a dot smaller. I'll show you. A dot smaller
Yeah,
than
but
an atom
see
explodes.
again, this isn't part of evolution, the scientific theory, though. That's why I'm saying it's not skipping anything. It's just like if we're talking about evolution, then it assumes that yeah, life already started and exists.
So
Like,
that's where that's not fair to do that. That's like
why?
you
What do you
making
mean
up
it's
a
not
whole.
fair?
That's like making up a whole storyline about flying elephants. Stop, stop, stop. There are no flying elephants, okay? And with your theory, that's why I point out over and over, you have a religious belief. You're part of a religious cult that wants to start with something already living. That's not a
So do
complete.
you. Well, you want to start with God already existing.
Oh, absolutely. And I admit mine's a religion, and you don't admit yours is a religion. There's
It's
the
because it's
difference.
not. It's not. You keep telling me you believe this. Just admit it. You believe this. No, you don't know what I believe because you're not me, Kent.
I
So
asked
don't
you,
gaslight me.
I asked you, do you believe the Big Bang? You said you think that's the most reasonable
Yeah,
theory.
but not by faith, though. Not by faith.
Okay,
And see,
here's
you want to say that, oh, you guys, you're skipping the first 4 steps, and I'm not going to let you start. I'm not going to let you skip the like. Who? Why do you get to decide where the argument starts or how people get to make their arguments? Like, who gave you that authority? Who put you in charge, Ken?
I did.
Oh, you did? Is that
Yeah,
because you're the expert?
yeah. Well, no, because it's just
You're not an
common sense
expert.
logic. It's common sense logic. Here's European Space Agency. I would assume that's peer reviewed enough for you.
It's an
Time, space.
agency. It's not a journal or paper. So.
Okay. Time, space, and matter all begin with the Big Bang. In a fraction of a second, the universe grew from smaller than a single atom to bigger than a galaxy. That's not a scientific statement. That's a statement of faith. All the Himalaya
Oh,
mountains fit
okay.
in that dot, all 8 billion people.
But you
This is
didn't
what they're
answer my
teaching.
question, Kent.
I'm
You're
trying to
discounted.
show you, you're trying to avoid the first 4, actually the first 5, because there is no evidence. There's no observable scientific evidence for a Big Bang. But
No, there's
all the
lots.
what's that?
But why does there's lots of evidence, but why does it matter if I avoid the first four? Like, why do you think you get to choose when the at what step the debate starts? Like, what gives you that authority?
I point out clearly, and almost everybody else agrees. Well, you're right. The first 5 you have to take on faith. Number 5,
Oh,
changing.
isn't that
Look at
okay?
number 5, changing from one kind of animal or plant to another. You know of any proof of that ever happening? Have anybody ever seen this happening?
Well, we
I know,
don't know
here
what a
comes.
kind is, so no.
He's going to say, what's a kind, right? Okay, I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, we
Well,
don't.
what's a species?
Well, a species is basically a group of organisms that can reproduce and give off fertile offspring.
Okay. So do you know of any
So,
animal or plant
so
that
is
has
it? So is that not what a kind is? Is a kind not a
It's
species?
pretty close, yeah. And that's why I point out the definition of species and the definition of
Wait,
kind right here.
what do you mean by pretty close though? And I'm almost done. I know there's other people who want to come on, but what do you mean by
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
close?
Well,
That's pretty vague.
a species, a group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding. Well, that's what the Bible says. They will bring forth after their kind, bring forth after their kind. Nick. Bring forth after their kind 20 times in the first 7 chapters. So the idea of bringing forth, i.e., mating and producing babies, is the idea behind a kind. And so there's 26. I point out the definition of species. Look at this. Look at this. Kind
But
or sort. A kind or sort. Species. National
all right.
Geographic. They can interbreed. Okay. Would you agree on these charts that they show the kids in school that the elephant and the sunflower cannot interbreed? Are elephants and sunflowers a different kind of life form?
Yeah, they're a different kind. But
Okay.
so what about species that are like you have a lot of different species of squirrels, and not all of them can interbreed,
Right.
you know, but you'd say they're all the same kind because it's still a squirrel. So how
Right.
does that
Well,
follow?
that's why I say in the original creation, there from that time there might have been diversification, where now we have Chihuahuas and Great Danes that can't interbreed, but they're still the dog kind, and I think everybody agrees with that. They can't interbreed for
They can
mechanical
be
reasons.
artificially interbred. If they impregnate the Great Dane, they can
Okay.
get
Right.
puppies
Well, then
from those.
They're the same kind. They're also the same species. The species. There we go.
But
Classification of
but
species.
hold on a second, Kent, because you didn't answer my question. Because I said that, you have squirrels have a lot of different species, but not all of them can interbreed. But you'd say that all squirrels are the same kind because they're
But
still a
see,
squirrel.
AJ, you're doing exactly what Jesus said would happen. You're straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel. Okay. This little definition of species, I say I don't know. I suspect there are about 8,000 different kinds of animals in the world on Noah's Ark, at least because he didn't have to bring fish on the obviously or insects. So, but the idea that they always bring forth after their kind, that's what's been observed. And I point out that species, here's the definition of species from Merriam-Webster dictionary, a kind or a sort. Wow. Synonyms
You,
for
you
species.
know
Look at
that's
this.
not using it the biblical definition, right? Like, is there a biblical definition for certain terms that's different from its other meaning?
Well, the biblical definition of kind is can they bring forth? Now
Like a
that would be
barramin,
uh,
baraminology.
yeah. Now
That's related to kind.
I think we'd have to go to the original creation, and like I said, they might have diversified to the point where they no longer can. But they're obviously traceable back to the same kind. The Kaibab squirrel and the Abert squirrel are still a
Right.
squirrel. Ask a 4 year
Right.
old. Okay,
Yeah.
they're still a squirrel. Now they
So they're the
probably
same
want to
kind.
try to mate, but they may not be able to produce offspring. But I think they could be traced
But
back.
they're still the same kind though?
Yeah, but that does not prove the squirrel is related to the sunflower.
It doesn't have to.
You guys believe
Why
they are.
why would
You,
it prove that?
do
Why
you
would it prove
believe
that?
that, AJ? Do you believe squirrels and sunflowers have a common ancestor?
I've answered this
Answer
question,
one more
yes,
time.
but I think
I want the
yeah,
audience to hear it. You do.
yeah, but
You
hold on. Because okay, yeah, I think
okay?
that they
Do you
have a
believe
common
you? Do you
ancestor. I
believe
think
you
life
and you have a common ancestor with squirrels and sunflowers? Do you believe that?
yeah,
Okay.
like all life on Earth, I have DNA and I live on the planet Earth. So yeah, I
Well,
just so happens I'm related to other living organisms on the same
right.
planet as me.
So
Is
before you tell
that's
me
so
why,
crazy, right?
before you give me all the reasons, I know why you believe that. Okay, but the fact is, you do believe in
No, you don't know
macroevolution.
why I believe it. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
I've heard all these reasons before. Okay, my point, and I'll stick by it. The first 5 definitions of this word, a slippery word, evolution, are religious. You take them by faith. Number 6 is scientific, and it should not be called microevolution. I've said that 1,000 times. It's too late. They've already called it that. It's printed all over the place. So I'll agree that if you want to call it microevolution, that is all that happens. It doesn't go beyond that. But you, in your wild imagination, just imagine it going back to the squirrels are related to the sunflowers. That's just not science. Why don't you guys admit that's a religious belief? The title of tonight's program, Evolution is a Religious Cult. Prove me wrong. I think you've proved me right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So,
one more minute. I got other people waiting.
yeah,
Come back in.
yeah, it's
back in the
okay.
queue.
I'll just say by leaving that even if you only count microevolution as the only thing that counts, it's still evolution.
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you
mind.
taking the time, Kent. So
All right,
I'll let
thank you.
some other people come in.
Hey, come
All right.
visit DAL. You can have our debate right here, AJ. We'd love to have you.
Okay.
Seriously, love to have
Fantastic.
you. Okay, who else you got there, brother?
Other people
All right.
do.
All right. Anything else? I got other people waiting, and it's late. So if you think, I'll have to say it for you because you don't want to say the word, but you do believe all of this, okay? You believe it happened. You're a religious zealot is all you are. And I appreciate you calling in, but you are definitely a religious occult member.
I can't say that, but thank you for taking my...
All right. Thank you. Good. We got AJ next.
Yes, sir.
AJ, somebody commented and said, it's good to see our reunion. I'm glad you come. I really want to see you come to the Lord. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay, so my question, and I'm going to address the title of the video, but my first question would just be, why do you think that losing something doesn't count as evolution?
Well, how's that going to drive the process forward? You're going to start with you're going to start with a dot of nothing or near an atom-sized dot exploding. All of that is part of evolution. But I'll give you your first single cell. This single cell has to develop eyes, ears, way to breathe, skeletal system. There's a whole lot of changes between a single cell protozoa or an amoeba and a whale. Is losing something, is that how we got everything? You could run for Congress. You could let's spend our way out of debt.
No, but that doesn't mean it's not part of evolution, though.
Okay, so you think evolution, we do observe loss of information. That's observable. Where's the observing of a gain of information?
Well,
I'll grant you they are both part of your religion belief. You believe organisms can gain things or lose things. We have examples of them losing things. Where are the examples of them gaining things?
Well, animals and organisms gain new structures, but are you conceding that? Are you saying that losing something is part of evolution? Because I mean, you've been saying this in your seminars for a while, so.
Okay, I would say losing things is part of observable science. I wouldn't say it's going to help evolution at all. It's not going to drive an amoeba to a whale.
Yes, but in the later evolution happens past just the earliest parts of it with the single-celled organisms. It happens with bigger macroscopic animals, and in that evolution is just about change. So it's not losing or gaining. It's both, and it's just changing from, Darwin called it descent with modification. So an animal's offspring is different than its parents, and those changes are going to add up over many generations. Those small changes can add up and make that generation much different than the one that came like 10,000 before it. And that it can have changes that are losing traits that are unnecessary, or maybe gaining ones that are helpful, but it's still evolution either way.
Well, now hold it. You just said something here. You said they can be losing or gaining traits. We see examples of them losing. You are correct. There are populations of creatures living in caves that have lost their eyesight. That does not explain how they got their eyesight to begin with. The blind cave fish, for example, okay? That's losing. Show me where they're gaining. You just said it happens, but you don't show any examples of that. What's the best example you know of an animal gaining something that its grandparents did not have, that is now going to drive it to become evidence for these stupid charts?
Well, I mean, one example, and this gets into beneficial mutations too, is just like having denser bones. And that's beneficial because it makes it harder to break your bones if you're getting an injury.
Okay. Denser bones, you're correct. Are you saying this is a result of a mutation? Could this be a dietary thing? Could it be an environmental factor? Is that going to then change the bone into something else, or become, change a flipper to a wing?
No, it's seen as genetic because it's hereditary. It's passed down to where it's a mutation to where the child has it, but the parent didn't necessarily have it.
So you're saying somebody had a mutation that made denser bones, and it was passed on to their offspring.
Well, sometimes things can be passed down if they're hereditary,
Right, right.
but there are also things that happen where it's a mutation where the child has it, but the parent did not have it.
Sure, okay. Somewhere along the line, the child, the grandchild, somebody got a mutation with denser bones. Now, this is taking an already existing structure like a bone and modifying it, morphing it into a slightly denser bone. Okay, are there any examples of where a creature that did not have any bones getting a bone or part of a bone?
Well, I think what you're asking about is getting new structures, and I don't think you're not going to see those in one generation, but like or like organs like eyes, wings, or specialized limbs can develop, but it's not going to be over one generation, and you're not going to have like a single-celled organism sprouting an arm either.
You are saying it can happen. This is you gave clear evidence that you have a religious belief that this can happen. Where is the scientific evidence of a creature gaining something? You're trying to hide behind the mysterious past. Well, it might take millions of generations. That's why it's not science. It's not observable. You imagine it. That's all.
It is in genetics and in fossils.
Well, fossils aren't going to provide any evidence for your religion. They're going to show you that something died. I think all fossils are great evidence for my religion that there was a flood that killed everything quickly, because fossils aren't forming today.
Hold on a second. If you think that the only thing you can tell from a fossil is that it died, then how can you say that it's evidence for Noah's flood?
It died like the clams died in the closed position. That's indication of rapid burial while they're alive, because clams open as soon as they die. But see, I'm not demanding that everybody pay for Noah's flood teaching in the public schools. So the burden of proof is not on me. I think it's logical evidence. This thing died. It died closed. It was buried alive, or else it would have opened. You can find seashells by the millions, by the billions. You can find seashells buried in the ground as fossils, where they did open and separated, and individual shells that are fossilized. I probably got some here someplace, okay? But to find them in the closed position, I think anybody would say, wow, it had to be buried alive and buried quickly. I think that's good evidence for a rapid burial, and I take that to be evidence for the flood.
But you said fossils. The only thing fossils can tell us is that it died, not how it died or where it died.
Okay, maybe I should modify that. Thank you. I'll check on that. I think we can tell that it died. I think we can tell where it died, unless it got moved somehow after it died. I think when it's buried on, when they find these on Mount Everest, it must have died somewhere near Mount Everest, because after they die, they don't climb mountains or they don't do anything, okay? So I think you could probably tell the location close, unless there's been some, geographic movement. I think we might be able to tell how it died. That's a good point. But we can't tell it had any kids, and we can't tell it had kids that were different. Can we?
Well, I'm just saying, if you would agree that there's more that we can tell than just that it died, then which I agree with, then I would say
you got a victory.
What else can we tell?
You get a checkpoint. That's probably about it. Can you tell that a fossil you find in the ground had children that lived? Is that provable scientifically?
Well, I know that there are some fossils where they can see markings on the inner area of where the abdomen and where the womb would be, that there's markings on the skeleton of the animal that can indicate that it was pregnant. But that's not going to be for every fossil. So no, I don't think you could tell that from every fossil that it had children that died. But why do we need to tell that?
Because you're wanting everybody to pay for that to be taught that these fossils are evidence for this chart. You think fossils in the ground are somehow evidence that an amoeba over millions of generations turned into all the creatures alive today. And you want everybody to pay for that. So yes, I think you should show me some evidence. I love science, and evolution is not science. Evolution's a pagan religion.
Okay, well, I want to address that just as my last point, because I know that people are waiting. So, and that because I want to address the title of the video. So, I mean, I think this is projection, because Christianity is a religion. Young Earth creationism is based on Christianity, and Christianity did incorporate pagan elements into it. I don't see any pagan elements that make religion a pagan cult or religion. I see more of that in Christianity.
Well, I chose to put it up again, brother. I chose to make that the title, and you're supposed to prove me wrong. It's a pagan religion, a cult. You believe all this stuff. You believe it very strongly, to the point where you'll fire a teacher from the public school if they don't believe it. Okay? That's what you think teachers that don't believe this and push it on their kids should be fired. Most atheists believe that. You don't think so?
I don't believe that, and I don't have the power to fire teachers. But I was just asking, like, what elements of evolution are pagan? Because I don't see that.
Good point. I'll work on that for my next one. We'll do this every Thursday and Friday for a while.
Okay. Well, I'll sign off. But yeah,
right.
thanks for taking the time.
Now, AJ, I pray for you, and God's going to get a hold of you. You watch. You're going to end up getting saved. Be a creationist.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.